campaign having currently. The Ti Soros Ge, the bodily autonomy and integrated campaign from Arasa that we in Namibia have renamed to It's My Body in different languages. So the work that we mostly do is always translated when we go to radio stations. It's different languages like that. So all three organizations have thematic areas that they are working on. And with Y-Fem, it's mostly to do with arts. And the amazing people here have been part of this campaign for the past 2 or 3 years. And then they have been creating songs, they've been creating poems and art shows throughout Namibia. The Ti Soros Ge dream has been traveling around. But the Ti Soros Ge song mostly had to do with the work that we do with churches in the religious sector, which is mainly, it's called Building Permanent Faith Alliances. So we work with church leaders to go into church and say, how do you view, what does bodily autonomy and integrity mean in a church context? So we spoke about different things with these leaders, like, because we didn't just approach and say, no, we wanted to talk about lesbian issues or gay issues or trans issues. We wanted to talk about holistically about the body of the person and what that means. So we have had a quite an amazing progress and an amazing group of church leaders that we are now stably, is that a word? Stably working with. And then as a result of that, when we had the messaging workshop with Women's Leadership Center and Positive Vibes, we created a gospel song with different artists from Namibia, and it's in 7 different languages. So you will have a chance to see that being performed now. It's actually by 7 artists, but only 2 are available today, but they know the whole song, so that's a plus for us. And then the other campaign, the SARS campaign, Safe Abortion Solidarity campaign, started last year, at the end of the last year, because Namibia is in this process of seeing if we should, abortion is legal, just to provide it on demand for women. So there's a lot of debates that are going on. And then the public hearings were happening in different regions of Namibia, but there was nothing from our side because the church was really organized and was using school kids and stuff like that with media. So we decided to act on it fast because the previous director, Felicita, also approached us and say, what are you guys doing? We're like, yes, we need to do something. And then that's how the SARS campaign started. And the main objectives of it was to influence the media, but also to participate actively in the public hearings. Because we have seen that there was a trend I don't want to say pro-life because we're also pro-life, we are for life. They are anti-choice people rather. So in the first public hearings that were happening in Erongo region, we saw that there was no voice at all. And then this campaign has given us that opportunity so that we can organize activists that we know in different, on grassroots level in different places to be able to attend the hearing and so that their voices can also be heard. And we have done that in 5 regions, which was a huge success because sometimes it was just us that was the woman that we are working with on different projects that are there. And then of course with most of the students from College of the Arts and artists around Namibia, we have also created an art show around abortion because we strongly believe in using arts as a tool for advocacy, but also to sensitize people about issues that might be a bit sensitive, like abortion, and to also bring our part. So we are bringing those 2 groups together, the Ti Soros Ge group and then the SARS, to show you, and Naisha and Dr. Tombi, what we have been doing. We thought when you're coming, let's quickly just show, and people are quite happy to be here to showcase that. So it will be just a very short show that we will be having, and we do hope that you will enjoy it. I don't want to talk a lot about Y-Fem because you might know more, or Florence was telling you already about it. But if you have any questions after this, we will network a bit and talk about what other programs that we are doing. And then now I'll be calling Vembai, our advocacy officer here at Y-Fem. We'll also talk a bit. Thank you.
So nervous. But yes. Okay, I'm here to talk about the other projects that Y-Fem has, some projects that we've been doing in line with bodily autonomy and safe abortion solidarity campaign. So first, the most prominent one is the fight against childhood marriages. That in itself has been kind of a silent epidemic going on underground. There's been studies that were done by the government. They published their research in 2020. But then when we went out and we also carried out our studies and we were kind of working on psychosocial support for the young girls, we found out that a lot of the statistics that were produced don't actually reflect the situation on the ground. Like when they carried out the research, it was mainly in very specific parts of the regions. So like say there's data for Opuo, but then Kamanyap was kind of left out, but then the practice is more rampant in Kamanyap. So that's sort of part of the things that we want to kind of carry on doing in the next phase of our work to end early childhood marriages. A lot of them also expressed things like getting the indigenous women from those specific areas involved in the activism against the practice. So Y-Fem's work also has been very focused on empowering and empowering through educating women in rural and regional areas. So yeah, a lot of our work goes in three phases. There's the research, then there's the empowerment stage where we're now educating the people, and then there's the part where we get them to be active in their own emancipation. The empowerment and education part, okay, through that part, we found out a lot of people who are going through these practices don't know that they're having rights that are being violated. And in a lot of areas outside of the practice of early childhood marriages, people did say they either knew there was a violation of rights taking place, but then they didn't think there was a hope of escaping, so they wouldn't take action, or they genuinely thought it was a proper norm. So you'll find that in a lot of these communities, a lot of people don't think that certain violations are worth reporting because they're so normal in those areas. So these are some of the things that Y-Fem kind of focuses on, letting people know that, you know, there's been a certain violation here and empowering them such that they take actions. So in Kamanyap, a lot of people, there were over 500 signatures to the petition against early childhood marriages by women and their daughters who had been married. And a lot of them didn't even think this was a possibility. A lot of them didn't think it was something that is worth discussing, but a lot of them did want the practice to end. So there is a keenness to take action. And through signing the petition, they managed to take what we think is a first step in letting their voices be heard. A next step would be engaging, we hope to engage the parliament and the local authorities to better get support from the legal framework in terms of changing this. Yeah, then in regards to the legal framework, we've also through our research found out certain gaps, like the Combating Moral Practices Act 7 of 2000. That section 14 is something I like held on to because it, even though there's laws that say it's not okay to get married to children, that one in particular says it's not a sexual offense to have sex with a child if you're married to them. So these are kind of things we want to highlight and let more people know. And in urban areas, we found that people didn't think this practice was happening at all. So yeah, that is kind of a lot of the work that Y-Fem does with regards to bodily autonomy and integrity. Then a lot of our younger participants, and yeah, a lot of our participants are engaged very well with through creative expression. So we used to do Y-Fem safe spaces where we would get people together. They maybe do some art therapy and paint it out, or we sit down, we have mental health talk and people vent and yeah, get their feelings heard and thoughts heard. Then it was also, then the next thing that we started introducing was having creative expression artists come in to also highlight or kind of communicate how their experiences are. And then next thing we would like to do is to also get these artists to engage with the children and get the children to express themselves. We've been able to do that in one way through an anthology which we'll be publishing on our website soon. Yes. Lots of people who wrote their stories and expressions talking about things that they want that to be addressed regarding violence against adolescent girls and young women, and then things that they feel, are too difficult to talk about. A lot of anonymous writers contributed in that regard. And then other things like little moments where they felt empowered through Y-Fem activities. So these are some of the things that we do and we would like to empower. Then another aspect of Y-Fem work is empowering the LGBT community. Currently, we are circulating the Equal Protection Act, which is meant to make the government pay attention to the fact that there can be domestic violence in same-sex relationships, even if they don't recognize that, these couples are couples in their eyes. This type of violence happens, and people who go through this violence are not protected in the legal spaces. So this is something we're currently working on, and and talking about violence, and also participation. This is Y-Fem's work. We do a lot of things. So we will also be publishing, I think, our research with specific detailed information, especially regarding safe abortion, solidarity, and the early childhood marriages. Yeah, there's lots of aspects I've not covered, like with the safe abortion solidarity. A lot of the participants talked about how they would like we had representatives from the Sun Women's Council who talked about how there is just no knowledge on or no information on how to protect oneself from certain violence, like sexual violences that take place, because it's involved. And then beyond that, there's no information on how to protect oneself after one's been exposed to like this violence or to HIV or the teenage pregnancy, and then the next thing, being forced to get married or to being subject to social exclusion. Yes. So yes, thank you. Enjoy it and take part.
Thank you so much, Mumbai. Mumbai started with Y-Fem 3 years ago?
Yes.
4 years ago?
2020.
Before Corona came, as an intern, and was involved in feminist safe spaces. It was spaces where feminists will just come, or young women will come and talk about the issues that they think needs attention. And Mumbai was doing mostly the wellness part, because then she was a psychology student and she graduated. And now Mumbai is working as an advocacy officer, because now Mumbai is studying law again. So maybe Mumbai will become our lawyer and do legal research for us later as she's going. So we are very glad to have Mumbai in Y-Fem. So Y-Fem, we had an old strategy that is phasing out late last year, and the beginning of this year, we have been trying to, we are doing our new strategy. So we are doing a new human resource policy, a new financial policy. So we are restructuring in all ways. So previously we had 3 areas that we were working in: the voice of the woman and the communities, especially on grassroots level, and then the body, and then money. So we're working on voice, body, money. But now we are looking at what other areas, according to times, that we can get into. So we are looking at things like political participation, of young women, especially on a rural level. So we want women to actually become councillors and MPs from Y-Fem so that they can go have a voice instead of just fighting the system that is. So political participation, we're also looking at climate justice issues. We know that there's oil drilling in the Kavango, but also Namibia as a whole, how do we look at green energy, the new energy? How can especially young women and rural women and all the other groups that we work with disability justice, we work with HIV groups. We have small adolescent girls in different parts of Namibia that are having their own groups. So how they can work in. So there are a lot of things that we are now thinking in our new strategy, and we'll be excited to share it with you in the next 2 or 3 months when we have finalized it on the new directions that we are taking. So now, enough talking. We are young feminists. We are always dancing. We go to the parliament, even if we are 3 to go say, no, better right. We are always dancing and singing. So yeah, let's start the arts. Josh.
Hello.
Okay, so I wrote the song. And it's called Show Me Love, Give Me Love. I hope you enjoy it. Teresia is gonna join me and until when will we make our women and children suffer at the hands of people who don't show us love? Can we realize all we need is just a little bit of love, love, love. And your heart, nothing but until when will we make our redemption suffer at the hands of people don't show love? Can we realize if we just had a little bit just give me a little bit of that love. Show me that love. We all need. Until when will we make our women and children suffer at the hands of people who have love missing? Can we realize? Can we realize? Can we realize? Can we realize? Thank you, Daddy.
I think so. Okay. It won't be difficult anymore because you're spitting on your own face. You're just a coward. But I am tired. I am tired of us having this conversation of self-neglect. I am tired of me, myself, and I, and all these women hiding in the shell. The silence is killing. The truth of being free is just a mirage of my reality. But don't you think happiness comes within? Don't you think you're hurting yourself? You're doing injustice to yourself and not taking action? Wait a minute. Am I the only one prepared to face it? Am I the only one? For we are living in a world of agony. The laws that they set up is just a painting. It's a mirage to society. For they breach the human laws a long time ago, starting from the Cedar Law, Article 1, stating, talking about the discrimination of women. They don't even care about the needs of women because we are living in a patriarchal system. Stereotyping has never ended. Are you not tired of pretending? Aren't you tired? Don't talk about family planning and healthcare, for it is out of reach for the ones that are in need. For abortion is excluded. Now you tell me I am being a coward, because some have to look within their own reflection, because we are not the ones who have this conversation. Me and I am tired of crying. Women are tired of crying. And they still crying.
Yes, yes, yes.
Blue, white, and green flag that flaps in fresh motherly air. The air as sweet as jasmine scent. The sun's rays kissing the golden horizon. The turquoise waters feeding the earth. The songs and warmth and salt of those who are no longer with us cry out to thee. May all our souls become free. So I've been part of the Ti Soros Ge campaign since the very beginning, since the very first day. And Ms. Flota has told us to like a small meeting in Stockholm at a place called the Big House. So I had to go down back into like my memory to actually recount the events that we had with the Ti Soros Ge campaign ever since it had started. So the first one is called the She Speaks. This event was actually quite enlightening because a lot of young women showed up to the event, the Big House as well. She Speaks was basically just an event that highlights a lot of social issues, especially amongst young women, because a lot of times our voices are silenced. So She Speaks, as it says, means we should speak out for ourselves. The second event, this was in 2019. The second event was called, it was a photography workshop with Celine. Celine is not Namibian. She came to Namibia so that she can capture our stories. And we also learned a lot about photography skills and as well as just allowing ourselves to be free through the visual aspect. The third was the International Women's Day, and the 16 days, the commemoration of the 16 days of activism in Swakopmund. It was in 2020, and it was actually in collaboration with the Ministry of Gender Equality, Child Welfare, and the Poverty Eradication. And the fourth that I remember would actually have like bi-weekly meetings with women from the grassroots communities, women who understand the stories of suffering, stories of poverty, stories of sexual abuse, stories of everything that actually belittle us as women from the grassroots communities. And we've also met the parliamentarians once. They came to us in Swakopmund, and sad thing, they never got back to us actually. They listened to all our issues. We highlighted all the things that we are going through as young women from poor backgrounds. And the motion that we had with the parliamentarians was actually gender-based violence and abnormally high suicide rates in the Rongo region. That's what we're focusing on. And at the time, back in 2020, the Rongo region was actually proven to be one of the highest regions with suicide attempts, successful ones as well, which the number at the time statistically was showing 98 out of 177, which is very, very, very poor, because we need to talk about mental health more amongst ourselves, not only as women, but as the LGBTIQA plus community at large. And the Ti Soros Ge campaign team, we would also use social media as a tool for advocacy, and art as a collective to as a form of sorry. Okay, sorry, I'm so nervous right now. That's why I took my shoes off. Okay, would use social media as a tool for advocacy and form of advocacy. The arts, the different type of arts that we do with Y-Fem is dance, poetry, visual art, and creative writing, anything that actually allows us to express ourselves in an artistic way. And last but not least, we would also have like Zoom meetings. I remember it was from the 19th to the 21st of October in 2021. It was a Zoom meeting that was focusing on social, economical, and also cultural issues affecting SRHR services amongst young women. The Zoom meeting was also held with other stakeholders, not only Namibia, countries such as Mozambique, Botswana, and South Africa. The Ti Soros Ge campaign team would perform at various, like a lot of different events, like the Slut Shame Walk and also the Women's Breakfast. And we are currently working on bringing an end to early childhood marriages, like Vimbaya highlighted, due to harmful cultural practices and silencing, especially with the fact that it comes from our traditional customs. And also, we are supporting and uplifting the legalization of abortion movement because we believe that women have the right to do whatever it is that they want with their bodies. My body, my choice. So, Y-Fem's Poet Laureate. I started writing with Y-Fem back then. Ever since I started, the first thing I did was write. And basically, I'm here to recite one of my creative poems that I wrote for the legalization of abortion campaign, for us to actually, just realize that these things are true and they are real and they're happening in our societies, as sad as it is. So, Maria walked across the hard gravel road that she walked every day of her life for the past 10 years. She is 16 and has so much of a life to look forward to. As she stumbled across a thick, sharp stone on the gravel road, she cried out in agony with the pain in her belly doing the tango dance. She was running away from pain. Her husband Marcus, who is 45 years older than she is, arrogantly asked her to be his baby making machine, because he bought her with her cows. But Maria was bred differently. She was not about to listen to anybody who is going to tell her what she could do or shouldn't do with her body. As she walked across the road, she found a deserted building, which used to be an old farm. As the pain grew more and more, she wondered what to do. She walked up the stairs and went to the bedroom on the first landing. She swung herself on the dirty white sheets, took out a bottle of acid from her shelf and drank it in one gulp. Maria felt excruciating pain, and she could feel the warmth of her blood running down her thighs. As she was wondering what was going on, she decided to tell herself that this is the end. Her soul left her body, went up to the stars. Maria thought that drinking the acid will get rid of her unwanted pregnancy. But all it did was take her life away. The end.
Hi guys, my name is Toshi. How are you? Good. How are you? So, used to. Irene asked me to just come on and say why it's important that we use art to communicate, especially to the kids. You know, music is everything. Africans will love music. Kids love writing. You know that little girl that writes in her diary. She doesn't know she's doing poetry. Yeah. So it's for us, well, us as artists, to come out and show them that it's possible to express yourself in with an audience. You know, because some people are shy also, and making them come out and dance or say a poem, you empower them to to want something more for themselves. And so I think let us continue bringing the artists in and making the shows and getting the community to come and also see that their kids, especially because the idea with Y-Fem is we get the kids to do the dancing. We get the kids to sing the songs. We don't do it, but we are just there as guides. And, you know, they can make a difference in their communities. So
Thank you. One last song.
While Toshi is coming back, I just wanted to talk a little bit about this, the song that we were just listening to. It's a song that was created by the 1 Billion Rising campaign, which is an amazing partner of Y-Fem. So we collaborated on this project when we were based in Usapos. Y-Fem likes to be in different places. We don't want to be an urban-based organization. So we go around with the movement into different communities and set up our offices there. So 3 years ago, we were based in Usapos and we were working with the grassroots community there. And together with the Mataisa artists, we decided to create this amazing song to end violence against women. And we mobilized the adolescent girls and the boys and people that live with disabilities and the mothers. We brought the whole community together in Usapos and we presented this song to them and everybody was dancing. And we realized that we need to continue using music and dance as a form of policy advocacy and also for us to do healing work, which is one of the most important aspects of Y-Fem because we believe in healing justice and we use indigenous feminism as a way for us to talk about what does healing mean for us. Because healing is, healing in itself, it's quite intersectional in terms of the traumas that we are going through. Where is the wound? Namibia is a wounded country and we need to have these open conversations about the wound that we are experiencing as a country. The wound that is coming from colonial ages, the wound that is coming from when we were in the, when South Africa was taking control of us. So we are trying to break away from that by first acknowledging the wound that we have and then putting systems into place for us to start a new journey of healing. And with healing, we do a lot of transformating work. That's why we believe in feminist transformation, because we believe if communities speak out for themselves and lead themselves, we are able to transform our lives. That is why we are very strongly, the Ti Soros Ge campaign has been doing quite a lot of solidarity work with the sex workers movement, with the trans movement, with the LBQ movement. Now with the LBQ movement, we are working with all the organizations in the country that are doing work with lesbian, bisexual, and queer women to see how are we organizing ourselves? How are we doing the work that on a national level, on a policy level, that we are also having our voices heard as lesbians and bisexual and queer women when it comes to our health and our well-being, and even in terms of us making money for ourselves. So economic justice is very important for us as an organization, and we use different ways, and we are still learning new ways in terms of us to find ways for us to create money for ourselves. So now we are thinking about starting businesses. How are we supporting and investing in the businesses of queer people in Namibia? And we use art as a way for us to create that platforms for us to sell our art and also to become cultural workers in terms of us documenting not only our lives, but our history, but even the imagination of where we want to see as a country, where we want to go. So yeah, let's continue.
The next one is called My Body, My Pride. That's what we
You wanna say?
It's my body. It's my body. Don't control it. It's my body. It's my body. I said it's my body. Nobody. My body. 'Cause everybody has a right to own their body. So please breathe my body, and I have every right to make decisions because it's mine. It belongs to me, 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 me. Nobody else. It belongs to me, 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 me. Please give me control. It's my body. Said it's my body. Said it's my body. Don't control it. It's my body. Yeah, it's my body. Yeah, it's my body. No control, no control. Hey, it's my body, my pride. My body, my pride. My body, my pride. My body, my body. My body, my pride. My body, my pride. My body, my pride. It's mine. It's mine. My body, my pride. Belongs to me. My body, my pride. My body, my pride. My body, my pride. Wait, one more. And this time I'm just.
You are not getting off stage.
Bella, where's Bella?
Bella,
There's Bella.
Bella.
You know the song. I was doing it. Oh,
Yes, I know it.
They don't know what I'm going through. Yet they ask me questions like, who is the father? I remember when I told my mother that I am pregnant. She asked me that same question. Who is the father? Well, I don't know who the father is. You know what she said to me? Do you think that you are the Virgin Mary and you are impregnated by the Holy Spirit? Well, if I don't know who the Father is, then I don't know who He is. All I know is that I'm not stable to raise a child. No one is working within my family. How do I begin to raise a child? How do I tell him or her who her father is when he or she asks me that question? Just tell me, how do I do it? All I want to do is get rid of it. Because this is not a dream I want to hold on to. I don't want to ask myself the question, go wrong every single day. This is the nightmare that I'm living in.